Samupe, Sampa Bietia, Chimafidi non kotu, era one radio. Samupe, Jumpa Bietia, Chimafidi non kotu, era one radio. Oh, and you Pampuma, Asam Pampuma. Era one, Yellow Pampua.
Me dindi acrobato. Me a businessman. At the same time, so me sansu ye actor. Me nyata mpo. En makwayare sabia. Ekosi se dakro. Me ni me business for. Eshia ye meeting. Prekope me call off. Me urufi bio. Me nusu te me no. Na mo Banahin Specialist Hospital. Wow. Enfidie ni. Machine sa hodwo. Na mu say yes. Hospital. Ebidi de biachi.
Me hu se mayo kakra. Nanka mensa contract bi eneya aji bibia. And problem you buy. You can put in Mama Aqua Masamba. Can never get home.
Oh, man, worry. If I saw you treatment, no. As your facility were her, we born our new business partners now meeting. Madam was say. And hospital one way. I want I use my minimum cassette.
Open to call to me Campo Banahin Specialist Hospital. Call. They are ready to help you.
All right, good evening, Era One radio listeners and viewers all over the world. It's another Thursday, the first day of June 2023. Wow, could you believe that we are already on the half mark of the year? Well, you are welcome to Divine Connection Show. I'm your host, as usual, Charles Boison. And tonight, we're going to have a few guests in the studio. We're waiting for a couple of them to show up. But of course, my one and only Reverend Robert Akon is in the studio. And so I'm going to let him give us some shout outs or some greetings, and then we'll continue. If you want to join, which I encourage you to do, the number to call is 240-280-2633. And if you want to text, it's 510-931-0946. This is the Divine Connection Show. Let's get started. Nisaba, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Boison.
Any updates in the system? Good. What is trending?
Well, the government here and the Congress, one way or the other, the debt ceiling has passed the House. It's now in the Senate. Let's see what happens before the U.S. defaults in 3 days. Hopefully something will come out of it. Other than that, we are cool, but except in Ghana, things are okay. NDC had their whatever, what is it? Their
Congress.
And things went smoothly. They nominated or appointed or chose whatever Mahama to lead them.
The usual appointment.
And I learned Baumia also picked up the forms to formally announce that he's running in the NPP primaries.
Wow.
Thank God. Let's wait and see. Of course, the Parliament is debating or actually vetting the newly nominated Chief Justice, Gertrude Eraba Tokenu.
Okay.
And this issue of citizenship came up, and I remember one of the voters, Kwame Agboja, an MP, kept insisting or questioning the validity of the argument pertaining to the birth certificate as sufficient proof of Ghanaian citizenship or nationality. And it's like, it's a big issue, because the Chief Justice announced, the incoming Chief Justice or Chief Justice nominee said the birth certificate is the primary, is only helps in establishing, right? But it's not a sufficient proof. And so we are back and forth. It's all over the airwaves.
Well, I hope we don't have Obama 2.0 in Ghana.
Well, it's interesting. So
anyway, all right. Thank you very much, Nisaba. Uncle Max, can you hear us? Yeah, we don't hear you. I don't know. Yeah,
your audio.
Yeah, we see your lips moving, but then we don't. And I think Pastor Mante is also, I don't know whether he got his video on. Pastor Mante, can you hear us? I think he also has a little bit of. Pastor Mante, can you hear us? Yeah, Uncle Max is back from his, global, trip. So
global junketing.
Yeah, he's been on the global trend for a while, so he has a lot of updates. Uncle Max, can you hear us? Yeah, we see your mouth, your lips moving, but nothing comes out. Well,
check if it's not muted from your end.
No, I haven't muted him. No, he's not muted. It's not muted. I think it has to do with this. Yeah.
You still can't hear me.
Oh yeah. Now you are fired up. Yes, now you are fired up. You are welcome, Uncle Max. You've been away. Ghana will call you. We'll call you Kubolo. You've been Kuboloing for too long. So today you are back. So everything is going to be on you. Well, we need a lot of updates from you. Now we don't have too much time, though, but we'll give you 3 minutes. Your trip and then IMF. I know you have a lot of information on IMF, so just let it go quickly and then we'll continue.
Well, it's good to be back. I was invited to spend some time with my children for my 70th, and they kidnapped me to Crete,
wow.
Which incidentally is where the Philistines originated.
The Philistines didn't originate there.
All right, let him finish. Let him finish.
According to my research, yes, they settled in Palestine at one point, which is where they started harassing the Israelites, but originally they're from Crete. According to my research, anyway. So anyway, I was kidnapped into Crete for a week or so, and fortunately the kidnappers were friendly, so they treated me very well.
Drinking English tea, huh?
English tea.
Yeah, so we all managed to escape after 7 days. Went back to UK, and I've been on various family engagements, shall I say.
Wow.
Since then, apart from doing a bit of work as well. And in fact, one of my sons, the middle son, announced his engagement the last day we're leaving Crete. We're about to get in the car when he announced.
Oh, he just waited on purpose, huh?
I say it might have been the salt in the sea breeze. Salt is very it makes water conduct electricity, very electrolytic.
Wow.
And when you have those kinds of conditions, all kinds of things can happen.
Awesome.
So anyway, so I'm back now. You also asked about the IMF. I think all that needs to be said is that this is the 17th time we are going to the IMF.
Wow.
So if it didn't work the previous 16 times, to expect that this time round is going to work
Oh yeah, this is a magic time. This is going to work. It's
Careful.
magic. It's going to work.
No, it's total foolishness.
It's going to work, Akuma. I am optimistic. It will work.
Well, I mean, the problem is, it's our challenge isn't a cash flow problem. If it was, then yes, IMF can come in and patch the thing, but it's more fundamental than that. So unless and until we address the fundamentals, then we are just wasting time. It's like you've got cancer and you decide you're going to put a Band-Aid on the cancer.
Without going to the source, the roots, huh?
Yeah, it merely camouflages the wound. It doesn't heal anything.
Well, I know Ghanaians are embarking on a lot of all nights and fasting and prayer and all that, so it's going to work. Yeah, it's going to work. Ghanaians are very good on prayer and all night and all that. So
but Dr. Boison, Reverend Akron has been saying that yes, prayer and fasting is a useful contribution, but it is not a sufficient contribution. It's not a sufficient condition. You have to change the fundamentals. You have to work. You have to give up the luxuries and you have to export more and import less. You have to give value. You have to be productive.
That's true.
And at the moment we aren't. This past week, there's been a lot of commentary on a video that was shared where a firm has been advertising in Ghana, and it has specified that it wants applications only from Europeans or Asians or anybody else but Ghanaians.
Wow.
And, people are complaining this is racist. But the reality is it is not racist. This is good business sense, because even Ghanaian business people have given up on hiring Ghanaian staff because they are lazy, they are incompetent, they steal, they will cost your business. They will run your business down. So Ghanaian business people are now looking for expatriates to employ because Ghanaian has become unemployable.
But when they come out with their products, who do they want as customers? Ghanaians?
Ghanaians will buy products that they need, wherever they come from.
If Ghanaians are not worthy to be employed, Ghanaians should not be worthy to be customers.
Well, they are ready to consume. That's what I think, Uncle Max.
I don't like. I understand the sentiment, but it speaks volumes.
Well, we need a mindset change. If that is going to happen, that is a problem. If the mind will be changed, if you can renew the mind, and I mean, I know we have about 70 to 80% of population being Ghanaians, and we go to church every Sunday in between, and we hear renew your mind by the word of the Lord. But sometimes, I mean, I have been a victim myself. I have been duped, so I understand. I'm not saying everybody is. Let me use the word duper, but I've been duped, and it continues. They don't want to change their mind, but it doesn't mean they are totally rot. But maybe we'll come there. Uncle Max, thank you for giving us some updates. We miss you.
You're welcome.
So tonight we are looking at actually Pastor Mante is supposed to join us as our new guest, but let's aspect the technicalities. So, but then he's been a minister for 35 years, also has equally good experience. So we are set. But Uncle Max, in your absence, we picked up this topic where we're looking at the character study of Saul. How Saul went through his leadership, the reign of his first year, second year. How he had this battle with the Philistines, the place that you said you had some source where the Crete you went to. So we've been looking at that. Pastor Kong has been dealing with. We did the subjects, we did the stakeholders. We look at some of the metaphoric, examples and all that. But tonight, I want us to look at the economic, the political, and the spiritual lessons from Saul's leadership. There were a bit of, lapses here and there. But the good thing is that Pastor Kong didn't give too much blame to Saul for what he did. There were instances where he was waiting for Samuel to come and do the sacrifice and offering, but oh boy decided to tarry. And some people are saying that it was a trick that Samuel did on Saul, which, well, we don't buy it anyway. But then some say Saul was impatient, he couldn't wait. But whatever it is, I'll read the scripture quickly, and then I'll let you give your summary since you have been away. So tonight, the ball is all yours, and then we'll get to. But I just want our listeners to know that our brother David is in the studio with us, and so he is going. Oh, okay. So Pastor Mante is saying I'm unable to join on the platform. I think he's having some technicality, but he's going to listen behind. All right. So let me read a scripture quickly, and then to refresh ourselves, and then we'll go into. We have just about 40 minutes time left, but then we'll do what we can. All right. So let me do the reading quickly, and then we'll take it from there. All right, so 1 Samuel chapter 13, verses 1 through 23. I'll do it quickly because some of you have already heard it several times. Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose him 3,000 men of Israel, whereof 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in Mount Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin, and the rest of the people he sent every man to his tent. 3. And Jonathan smote the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. And Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, Let the Hebrews hear. And all Israel heard say that Saul had smitten the garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel also was hard in abomination with the Philistines. And the people were called together after Saul to Gilgal. 5. And the Philistines gathered themselves together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sun which is on the seashore in multitude. And they came up and pitched in Michmash, eastward from Bethaven. When the men of Israel saw that they were in straits, for the people were distressed, then the people did hide themselves in caves, and in thickets, and in rocks, and in high places, in pits. And some of the Hebrews went over Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was yet in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. And he tarried 7 days, according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. And Saul said, Bring hither a burnt offering to me, and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. 10. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him, that he might salute him. And Samuel said, What hast thou done? And Saul said, Because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou camest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. Therefore said I, the Philistines will come down upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I forced myself thereof, and offered a burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, Thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now thy kingdom shall not, let me see. Where did I jump to? Okay, I think I missed something. Okay. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought him a man after his own heart, and the Lord had commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee. And Samuel arose and got him up from Gilgal unto Gibeah of Benjamin, and Saul numbered the people that were present with him, about 600 men. And Saul and Jonathan his son and the people that were present with them abode in Gibeah of Benjamin, but the Philistines encamped in Michmash. And the spoilers came out of the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. One company turned unto the way that leaded to Ophrah, unto the land of Shua. And another company turned the way to Bethrom. And another company turned to the way of the border that looked to the valley of Zebulun toward the wilderness. Now there was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel. For the Philistines said, Lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. But all Israelites went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his spear, share, and his coulter, and his axe, and his mattock. 21. Yet they had a fire for the mattocks, and for the coulters, and for the forks, and for the axes, and to sharpen the goats. So it came to pass in the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people that were with Saul and Jonathan. But with Saul and with Jonathan his son was there found. 23. And the garrison of the Philistines went out to the passage of Michmash. All right, that was a lengthy scripture. All right, Uncle Max, very long. All right, so Pastor Mante is listening. All right, so Uncle Max, you have been away, so the spotlight is on you. Give us a summary. What is your take on this long passage? before we go into the nitties and the gritties and the details?
We seem to have a leader who decided to take the initiative without reference to the instructions, I presume, that he had been given by the prophet Samuel. And he was ill prepared, and his people were ill prepared. If you're going to go into battle, you need to make sure you have the right armaments. If you are now depending upon your enemy to supply you with your armaments, or to sharpen the armaments that you might have so that you can be more effective, then you are extremely vulnerable. And it beggars my imagination that the leader would have led his people to a situation of dependency upon the enemy and expect to prevail against the enemy. But having said that, this is the situation we find ourselves in Africa, where we have forces that are ranged against us. And rather than weaning ourselves off dependency on these forces, we continue to depend on them and expect them to bail us out, whether it's the IMF or it's the World Bank or it's the development partners who are there for who are here for their development, not our development. It's as Pastor Akron keeps saying, it's the same story in the Bible that is being repeated today. And if we have not learned the lessons from, 2,500 years ago, well, how are we going to move forward today? So this particular passage, yes, it is long, but it has many, many lessons for us in today's contemporary times. The situation, for example, where again, you have a deficit in terms of your arms procurement, and yet you decide to go and attack or provoke the enemy with a limited force when they have vast numbers that they can marshal against you. That does not make sense. But this is precisely what Ukraine has been goaded or provoked to do against Russia.
But was that a provoked war before you go for it? Was it a provoked war? Because I understand they were not provoked. But anyway, I'm listening. We're listening. Well,
there's no pretext given. It says in the second year of his reign, Saul decided to go and attack the Philistines. It doesn't say why. It doesn't say the Philistines attacking Saul, in defense, did a preemptive strike or whatever. He just decided to go and attack. And in chapter 14, Jonathan also takes a small band of people and goes and overruns a Philistine garrison, also without any apparent provocation.
I like the angle you are coming in, because I don't think you are privy to what we were discussing previously. So I like the perspective you're coming in. I want you to respond to what Uncle Mark said, that Philistines were not provoked.
No, the Philistines provoked. The Philistines rather provoked the Israelites, because Uncle Mark, if you read the text, you consult the map, the Philistines' garrison was encamped in Gaba. Gaba was on Israel's territory. So the Philistines had established a base in Israel territory. You understand?
Okay.
So
Yes.
Just Jonathan, of course, it was a sour point and a sore an eyesore for Israel.
Yeah.
You get it?
I hear you.
Yeah,
But
so,
there's a contemporary example of.
Of course,
Maybe,
you were not here. We've talked about this. The Chinese are in Ghana. The America has established a base. In fact, they were trying to establish a base in Ghana, right?
Okay.
And the Marine
I'll think of something a bit more local to you. The Americans have had a base in Cuba for a long, long time, and the Cubans tolerate them. They just tolerate them. They walk them across the barbed wire. But
yeah. Well, that's Guantanamo Bay. I understand that. I'm talking of even Ghana and Africa, right? Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing, America has a base, and the commander of that base happens to be a black man, Lieutenant General Langley. It's one of those. But
we don't know that.
Okay, the point here is this. We are looking at a situation where Israel was supposed to be a sovereign state, but an enemy. And not just spies, but the whole army had pitched camp. If Dr. Boison, I don't know if you have the map, if you could actually display it, because it will help us to explain a lot of things. You see, Geba, where the Philistines were encamped, is between Michmash, the most strategic location in Israel, and Gibeah, where Jonathan was. So both Michmash, where Saul was, with 2,000 soldiers, and Gibeah, where Jonathan was, with 1,000 soldiers, right?
Yes.
Both locations were easily reachable to the Philistines because they were centrally located in Geba, in Israelite territory. So it wasn't a question of Jonathan attacked the Philistines unprovoked. The fact that the Philistines were pitched their camp in Israelite territory was a provocation by itself.
Well, if that was the case, then yes, I hear you. But I also understood that between the Philistines and the Israelites, there were often quarrels over land.
Yeah.
So there was continuing contention. So if that is the case, ideally, you learn to live at peace with your neighbor. Yeah. Because to spend all your efforts trying to maintain borders, and 1 month you occupy this town, the next month they occupy the same town, matters that you move to a different village, and so on and so forth. It's not a productive use of time.
Yeah.
Or manpower and so on.
But that's what the author wanted us to get. That Saul was brought in to address this issue. You getting me? So until this time, Israel had not had a king. It was the rule of the judges. And the last one, of course, was Samuel. Right?
Yes.
And Samuel had, in his old age, had appointed his sons, Anna and Joel, right, to become the de facto, if not the de jure leaders of Israel, right? And the Bible said they were taking bribes and corrupting justice. So the people asked for a king. And if you read the account, you realize that the author started by saying that Saul reigned 1 year, and then he reigned the second year. That's even a contentious argument, because the use of the word reign 2 times takes us to a whole different realm. But the whole point is Samuel and the judges before him had failed to contain the Philistines. The Philistines had built a base in Israelite territory, right? The Bible also makes us to understand they make sure that Israel will have no blacksmiths, right? And therefore, the Israelites have to go there to Philistia to sharpen their tools, their farming tools and their fighting tools. So you made a good call when you said, hey, how can you fight the one who actually
Exactly
shapes
your
your
choose.
policy and everything? You get me? So that's the contemporary picture therein in the text. You get me?
Yeah.
If really China wants to help Ghana or Africa, do they have to bring their people into our land to pollute our water bodies?
Well, they're taking advantage of your.
No, they don't.
They're taking advantage
But
of the
we are the
resources too.
ones. We are the ones who are letting them in.
But that's what we are trying to establish. Again, the reminder: this is narrative. It talks about what happens and not what happened. So this is what happens in human affairs.
Yes.
Right? This is what happens experientially. This is the reality of humanity. That any group of people, any community that sleeps on their rights, one day will find themselves in a dire situation. And that's what we are seeing.
Gentlemen, let me pop up this question. Let me just revisit Dr. Nkrumah's statement that the black man, the African, the Ghanaian is capable of handling his own affairs. Is that thing working? Because if you say Chinese are right now occupying a chunk of Ghana just because they want to help, but they've taken advantage of the system, can we say that Nkrumah's statement is true?
No, yes, don't forget, that was a wish, that was a desire that he wanted to become a reality. You get me? And put in context, this was the time when Ghana literally was a child of Britain. you get me?
That's
and
true.
So you realize that as long as you are tethered to somebody's apron strings, he controls your destiny. So Nkrumah was saying, we have the ability to control our destiny. But the point is, all the structures in place to keep us in our place, to make sure that we don't progress beyond what our masters want, those structures are still in place, one of them being IMF. So yes, they are in our land. They control our economy. Because I'm asking this question. How come the government cannot help somebody like Katanka, who is building cars? But you know, they've told him you can't help him. Because the moment you help him, you now become a car manufacturing country.
I think it's because of our inferiority complex, because we come to the realization that anything produced by us is inferior. So we rather go and import.
No. I don't believe that.
Then what is the reason? Then why can't he be helped?
That's what I'm telling you. The powers that be have said that guy must die. His business must die. Government, if you get involved, whatever help you need from us, you won't get.
Because I've actually heard somebody say, "Oh, Katanga's car is not quality. They don't want to even buy and use."
How does one gain quality? It is when it's in production we are patronizing it that he will get to know the things that he needs to fix. But nobody is getting him.
Patronizing.
Nobody is buying. So how can he continue with research?
So now who costs? Who costs?
That's what I'm trying to tell you, that the powers that be have determined that we must be consumers. Katanka is going to turn us into producers. And it's a no-no according to the powers that be. And that's what Nkrumah wanted us to be weaned off.
Yeah, I think I would answer the question a bit differently. I mean, Pastor Akrong, you laid out the realities of the situation. But the statement was that the African is capable of managing his own affairs. And I think Nkrumah demonstrated that. I think many Africans have demonstrated that around the world. However, having the capability is a necessary but not sufficient condition.
That's true.
Okay.
For the African to be liberated, he and his cohort must also have the will. They must have the will to exercise that capability. And this demands a unification to a certain degree. And this is what has been lacking in Africa. We have not had the will to join forces in order to fight against those imperialist forces that Nkrumah identified and warned us against, which you've articulated.
That's very true. But again, go back to the text. So for us to understand certain things about, again, the reality of humanity, the Bible says on the day of battle, only Saul and his son Jonathan had fighting
equipment.
And don't forget, the author has already made it clear that the Philistines made sure that there was no blacksmith, which means there was nobody with the capability to use technology to produce something that will enable Israel to become a viable competitor.
And isn't there any way that Israel would have... Couldn't Israel have gone around the situation?
That's what we are seeing. Katanga, if we patronize Katanga, before long, Ghana will become a viable manufacturer of cars. Do you think Ghanaians will patronize? And for that matter, it will be easier to export to African countries before you realize we aren't importing cars anymore. And we will build cars that will suit our environment. Do you think the powers that be want it? No. So these are the issues. Again, let's remind ourselves, this is narrative. It's not about what happened to Saul. It is what happens to humanity. And so we are witnessing this test in our contemporary time, in real time. That, listen, there are powers that be, they are united, and you just said, I mean, if we go into any crisis, then these people will come and ease the crisis for us. So we really fail to develop the necessary backbone to say we are going to take our destiny into our own hands. How come Israel, the whole of Israel didn't have weapons, but Saul and Jonathan had it? And the Philistines were the weapon makers. Where did Jonathan and Saul therefore get their weapons?
Yeah.
So you're getting the point there. It's clear the Philistines were willing to give to the leaders, but not for the people to fight. So as long as the leader is comfortable and his people are miserable, the powers that be like it that way.
Yeah, they could conquer, because your numbers are low, your equipments are low. And do you even know that even in the US, America tries to even use Ford cars or made in US cars, especially the police cars. Most of them are Ford or US made cars.
They are exclusively American cars. It is a US policy.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I do accept that there are powers that shouldn't be, but I don't accept that they cannot be fought. And I'd like to cite one example.
Okay.
India, which has got 1.2 billion people, about the same population as Africa. India said to Apple at one point that we like your products, but we will not allow you to sell your products in this country until you establish a factory here in India. Today, they have 3 Apple factories in India, and they signed technology transfer agreements and what have you, so that the Indians have learned how to make cell phones and tablets and computers and so on. Yeah. And they were able to do that because they had the numbers.
Thank you, sir.
And we have the numbers, but we don't have the unity. This is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
The will is not there.
No, let me correct that. It's not we don't have the numbers. We have countries, and it's one of the insidious, very insidious realities on the African continent or the global scene. Because you see, take for example, let me quote this Zimbabwean woman. What's her name? Something Kwa. Eswatini is a sovereign state, has the same voting power as a country like Egypt or Nigeria. Take Cape Verde, take Seychelles. So you have a situation where we may have the numbers, but the numbers have actually been partitioned into countries.
Used against us, yeah?
You getting me? The advantage of India is that it is one country. We don't. Africa, so yes,
Pastor, I hear you, but let's not forget. Let us not forget. This is the thing that Nkrumah pleaded for. Let us.
That is exactly what we are saying, that it is yet to become a reality. India, for example, they speak the passable English, they use Hindi, they use Telugu. You come to Africa, we have Portuguese, not a native language in Africa. You have French, not a native language in Africa. You have English, not a native language in Africa. You have Arabic, not a native language in Africa. You have Spanish, not a native language in Africa. Now you are dealing with a certain reality. You getting me? And it's taken, let's say, since 1884, after the Berlin Conference, it's been like this. And so you are talking of a problem that has, should I use the word gestated, right? For 150 years or so. And we want to take a year to unravel it. You getting me? These are the sort of hard thinking, hard realities we have to accept and come out with means and possibilities to
but Pastor, if you go to India, they also have their language issues. They speak Punjabi, Gujarati, Hindi.
They have their localized language.
Sanskrit and so on. But they also speak one common language.
I'll tell you something. Despite everything, if you go to the north, it's Hindi. If you go to the south, it's Telugu. These are the two major
dialects.
Languages.
And then, of course, they have English as medium of instruction in some of the districts because they used to be an English colony. But the argument is India is one with the numbers. Africa with the number is multiple personalities.
Yeah.
You get me? So that's what we are dealing with. That Nkrumah wanted to bring us together. He was talking to Modibo Keita, who spoke French. He was talking to Nnamdi Azikiwe, who also spoke English. He was talking to Bembela, who spoke Arabic. You getting me? He was talking to Samora Machel, who spoke Portuguese. He was then talking to, of course, what is it? Mandela and others, who then were forced to use African. These are the realities we are dealing with. So we may have to do some hard thinking. You're getting me? But the whole point is somebody is controlling what can happen and what must happen in our territory. And they are here.
But you know, where there's lack of unity, the enemy can easily penetrate and divide more.
It is true. We admit that. So how do we overcome that point. How do we get Mozambicans and Angolans to jettison Portuguese? How do we get Spanish West Africa, Spanish Sahara to jettison Spanish? How do we want to get the Francophone countries in Africa to jettison French? And listen, we have one destiny as Africans. This is what we are trying. The issue is, you get me? Of course, but the reality is somebody is either directly or remotely controlling what can happen. And we discussed it, Uncle Max. The Bible said Israel went to Philistia to sharpen their tools. What a reality. Isn't it what we are seeing in our contemporary world? When you want to go and study advanced study physics and what have you, do you do that in Africa?
Our brother Kweku just joined. Kweku Abeku says, good evening, everyone. The truth is our leaders are self-centered, and until we do away with manifestos, have a national policy, we can never develop our country. As for the manifestos, they will come every day. I mean,
isn't it MAGA? We have MAGA here. Yeah, MAGA. It's not a manifestos. You get me? The point is, there is a reality we must deal with. Unfortunately, we blame the leaders, but it is in the Bible. Saul and his son had a weapon. So it means that they themselves, the leaders, according to whole Israel, our Christianity is based on this text. These leaders were in the pocket of the Jews, of the Philistines. And
but Pastor Cole, there seems to be a conflict or leadership issue here, because it looks as if, as we stated last week, Samuel was interfering in the rulership of Saul. How do you how do you say that this guy could freely reign or rule with all this leadership, kingmaker on his head, making sure he lived right or he did what the right thing was? I guess the guy couldn't freely rule.
Every nation has internal or domestic problems. Every nation. The problem becomes compounded when you also have external or foreign issues cropping in. Now, as we said in previous sessions, Dr. Boison, you had 4 things playing out here. Lack of governmental or governance system, right? Lack of an economic system, lack of a defense system, and of course, now you have the spiritual system of the day, which was big then, also becoming an issue. So one of the things you get to understand that, well, Saul, someone may have realized that Saul was failing on every front. So if he also would dabble in the spiritual, which was a big issue in Israel, right? He was certainly going to fail as well. And what will Israel be left with? So that's an argument that could be made, that Samuel was trying to protect the spiritual end, right? And because Saul had failed, but the argument, of course, becomes, hey, Samuel, are you being fair to Saul? It was during your long reign that this mess was created. Don't project your failures on Saul. Because as I said last week, the people were not looking up to Samuel at this time. They were looking up to Saul. Because you read the text, when we start, Saul was in Michmash. At the end, it was the Philistines who were in Michmash, which means they had dislodged Saul. When we get to the middle of the text, Saul was in Gilgal. By the end of the text, Saul was in Gibeah. What was happening? It means that Saul
wasn't stable.
Yes, was unstable.
All
He
over
was
the place.
jumping from place to place, so did not have a capital to operate from. Meanwhile, the Philistines were based. They had a base. So this test is actually saying a lot without saying it. You getting me? So, yes, Saul had certain issues to deal with. Samuel, to come in with, at this time, when this man was under this sort of tremendous pressure, maybe it was too much of a blow. That's me trying to be fair.
Well, let me pose this question to Uncle Max, since he hadn't been part of this discussion. Uncle Max, the delay by Samuel and then the sacrifice of Saul, would you say Saul was impatient or Samuel deliberately delayed? Where do you stand on that?
Well, it's hard to know whether Samuel deliberately delayed, but it could have been a test. of Saul, to see whether he would abide by whatever instructions he had been given by God through Samuel, or whether he would strike out on his own. And there's some indication that Saul's early success went to his head. And he began to behave in ways which were displeasing to God. Again, this is not new. We have witnessed this phenomenon time and again in contemporary times. When people come into power, somehow the power corrodes their moral standing and their ethical values and so on. And they begin to misbehave and overstep the bounds of the authority and so on. You might have heard there was a Supreme Court ruling that the president's dismissal of the Auditor General was unconstitutional. Yeah, he overstepped his authority. But these are the things that go on and very often are not checked. And somebody said, oh, well, this is proof that the law works. And I said, no, I beg to differ, because justice delayed is justice denied. And it's a bit like, a patient is ill, you've got the medicine to cure the patient, but you wait until the patient dies. And you say, oh, I've got the medicine. Well, what good is that? The patient's already dead. So I suspect it was more of a test than that it was a deliberate attempt to bring down Saul.
And that would mean he was just setting him up to fail.
Well, can I put up an argument for Saul?
Sure.
Okay. Uncle Max, the question is, who amongst us as a leader will have the patience, the luxury of that patience to wait when this amount of pressure, right, was actually trailing him? Who will have it? And you see, Uncle Max, when we read the text, for me, that is my takeaway. This is what Saul said, right? I would like to read to back up my point. The author says, and it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of the offering, as soon as, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out
to meet him,
so that he might salute him. Immediately, look at the way the author has structured the text. Instead of Samuel saying, oh,
I'm
how
sorry.
are you? How is everything? Look at the way he went about it. What hast thou done? You see how the author is putting the test, instead of say, the guy has come to greet you.
Okay.
Why not
So-
go through the pleasantries?
At least apologize apologize for being late. No apology for being late. Just
Apology.
because you are the kingmaker.
Straight away to the destiny, and then so you get the author, though the ultimate goal of the author was to paint a very, very unflattering picture of Saul, or portrait of Saul. At least the author is being a bit objective here, inserting text here and there. You understand? To one way or the other, insinuate some sort of liability and fallibility on Samuel. The guy has come to greet you. You were supposed to be there 7 days. Within 7 days, you didn't show up. And Saul had the good sense to invite God in. He recognized that with Israel, you cannot do anything without God. And you who were to perform that role were late. And you expected him to have the luxury to wait. You get me? So these are and the point, why this is important is when you bring it into our contemporary times. Dr. Boison, this morning, I listened to a gentleman. Somebody sent me the clip. He said he used to have a soap manufacturing company in the Mankasim area.
Central region.
Yes, employing 38 people. He said he decided to go and pursue a master's degree. And so he left it in the hands of somebody he trusted.
A foreman.
This was 2011. 2 years after the company had collapsed.
Crashed.
And so he made the point that we tend to blame leadership when actual fact, the people themselves. And you see, the leaders come out of the people. It is not the people who come out of the leaders. The people, the leaders reflect the people. So here was Samuel. In fact, Saul is now there simply because of what you did. Let's call it what it is. Samuel, it was under your watch, all this establishment of garrison by the Philistines making sure that there was no blacksmith in Israel. It happened under your watch because this text is making us to understand that this was the second year of Saul.
But you know, sometimes we tend to iconize people. Someone, for instance, was somebody who was, I don't want to use the word idolized, but he was an epitome of a structure that has been established as a boy who listened to God. So he was a representative of God. He was
a good spiritual person. He was a good spiritual person, a good seer, a good prophet.
But not political.
It doesn't mean he was a good administrator because at the end of the day, he reflected what he had learned from his mentor, Eli in his old age appointed his sons, Ophni and Phinehas. Samuel in his old age appointed his sons, Abiah and Joel. And it was during the time of Abiah and Joel that the people said, we need a king.
So to paraphrase you, you're saying you can be a good prophet and suck at administrative or political area.
Of course.
There are different skill sets. There are different skill sets. And this, again, is one of the problems we have in Africa, where we get revolutionaries who come along, they overthrow a government, they are good at mobilizing people to resist and so on. But that doesn't mean they are good visionaries or good leaders. And the same with politicians. We think politicians are leaders, and they're not. They are just good talkers. Yeah. But
that is why division of labor is very important, because what you don't have, let the person who has it do it better.
So, I mean, again, I know the sentiment. Christians, this sentiment is strong. Hey, who are we to that? Say Samuel. No, but the author has innuendoed. You understand? The author has innuendoed. He hasn't explicitly stated those things, but if you read the account very well, he was actually putting out innuendos there. You getting me? So these are the issues. And the point is, we have to be very, call it, we must learn what the author is trying to put across, because this pertains to reality, right? What happens in life and not what happened to Israel. You getting me? When you have parallel structures, this was a clear case of Samuel wielding power that did not belong to him at this time. But he had wielded it before, and times had changed. The power now was in the hands of Saul, but Samuel wouldn't let go.
Wow. Power is sweet. Power is sweet. Once you taste it, you don't want to let go.
So the Bible is trying to teach us what happens so we can learn and take out unnecessary sentiments out of the way. You getting me? Samuel had no business pronouncing a stop to Saul's throne.
Well, the guy saw himself as a mentor, and he thought by being a mentor he could overstep every barrier and mentor Saul's way through. But looks as if there was some leadership conflict somewhere there.
These are, you see, you come to Ghana, right? You have a former president making pronouncements because he wants to come back, right? You come to America, you have a former president making all kinds of statements because he wants to come back. These are the realities. This is what happened with Saul and Samuel. If anybody tells you that Samuel was happy because God told him, Samuel, the people have not rejected you. It's me, God, they have rejected. So the fact that God could say that, right, means that Samuel felt that the people had rejected him. So this was a faith-saving act.
So the people who want to come back, they want to come and redeem themselves after their 4 years, huh?
Of course. Mama feels the people let him down. They had rejected him, so let me come and prove myself. This is human nature, whether we like it or not. We want vindication. That's the bottom line.
Well, gentlemen, I think I have gone past my time. We may have to pick it up again, Les, because I don't think we exhausted all the political, the governmental, the economic, the security and religious aspect. We may have to revisit and go deeper. I mean, now that we have Uncle Max also joined us with a different perspective, it made the conversation all come together. So, Uncle Max, thank you for joining us tonight. I'll give you the option, 30 seconds to give us your closing remarks, and then Nisa comes and we'll wrap it for the day.
Okay. I'd just like to pick up on something that you said a few minutes ago, that power is sweet. And it's a truism that I think many people buy into. But that is because they are ignorant. People are ignorant of the responsibilities of power and the laws of karma, which basically say, as you give, as you do unto others, so it shall be done unto you. So if you are in power and you do something that affects 1 million people adversely, that is something that is going to affect you and your life adversely to the same extent that you have affected that 1 million other people. If people understood this principle, perhaps they would be less eager to get power with which to impose their will on others.
Wow.
And this is a shortcoming in our teaching and in our appreciation of life. Yeah, and maybe we can go into this more deeply at another time. But that's what I'd like to leave this session with.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming back from your trip and adding to the beauty of our program tonight. Thank you very much. Nisaba, you have any 30-second wrap up?
Dr. Boison,
Yes,
let me read something that I clip. This is Lord Macaulay addressed to the British Parliament on 2nd February 1835.
The year I was born.
Was partitioned. I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. And therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient educational system, her culture. For if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation.
And that's what happened. That's what exactly happened.
Thank you, sir.
That's what happened.
Thank you, sir. So you know, now you understand the interests, the entrenched interest that Africa has to confront in order, because interestingly, Professor Amata Edu died yesterday. Right?
So sad, yeah.
And they showed one of her clips where she was talking to a British journalist and told her straight, where would Europe and the Western world, where would you be without Africa? You people denigrate us. You people say all kinds of things about us, but you know that it is you people who have corrupted our system. And then you turn around to call us names. The day is coming. The truth cometh. Africa shall rise. The story will not always be like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The story will not always be like this, and it begins with us. We have to change. I don't know whether there has to be a new rebirth of a whole nation to come with a fresh mind. Otherwise, it's going to be something. It's coming, but we have to work on our minds. We have to. It's like when you tether a fowl or something to a post, and after years or days, you release it. It doesn't even know it's been untethered. That is what we have to come out of. Our mindset has to change. Otherwise, we'll still be roaming with the same inferiority complex, thinking that if it doesn't come from overseas, it's of low quality. And so whatever we produce ourselves, we don't even give respect to. I believe that since Nissan is going to build a plant in Ghana producing vehicles, I hope the Ghanaians themselves will learn this after maybe 20, 30 years. They can say, okay, guys, we thank you for coming to teach us. Now we've learned on our own. We can do it ourselves. Bye-bye. And they will give you a nice ex gratia and they can go. Maybe that will work. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
They are not coming to teach us how to build cars. We have Kataka already. We have Kataka already.
Are we patronizing it? We are embracing
so let's begin. I don't want Nissan to come and teach us nothing when we know how to do it.
What the president just welcome.
We will leapfrog the West.
Amen.
We will leapfrog the West.
You see, Dr. Boison and Uncle Matt, the reason, I will tell you something. My great-grandfather actually built a plane in Ghana in 1935. He was an ordinary blacksmith. You can go and read about it. The British government asked him not to fly it.
Hey.
These are stories, people. So some of us will... Anyway, he built a whole aeroplane. He flew it. The British government said, no way. He was an ordinary blacksmith.
Okay, we'll come to that story next week because this is news to me. All right. Wow. Anyway, that is what we've been grappling with all this year. So I just want to thank you, and Nisaba, thank you very much as usual. I mean, You guys bring a whole wealth of knowledge. We are just taking what the Bible says, and like you always say, the Bible is not just a spiritual book, something that we can glean nuggets from. That what happened in those days is still happening. There is nothing new under the sun. Uncle Max, thank you very much for showing up today. We really miss you over the weeks. Thank you very much. And then to our listeners, those of you who joined us, Dave, our brother David Tafa, thank you for joining us. Pastor Mante, you're going to join us next week, and I'll do a proper introduction. I mean, there was some technical glitch. You couldn't join video and audio. So, but actually, today was your learning moment. So you were just to, be behind and, supervise us. So I think you did your job very well. Thank you very much. Our brother Abeku, thank you for being with us. So thank you very much. Continue enjoying Era One. We are 24/7. There are always programs on the air that you can enjoy. And our purpose is to educate, entertain, and to inform. So be with us next week and gladly. All right. Thank you very much, Reverend Mante. You're also welcome. So, gentlemen, have a good rest of your evening, and we'll meet next week. Thank you very much. All right. Bye-bye.
God bless.
Thank you.
They are four women. They are beautiful with
all right, my this thing wouldn't play, huh? Okay, all right, let's go to my Era One.
Era One Radio. Era One Radio. And Asam Pamchima, Egratumchima, Era One, Yebo Yumpamkuma.
Me dindi acrobat. Me a businessman. At the same time, so me sansu ye actor. Me nyata mpo en makwayara sabia. Ekosi se dakro. Me ni me business for. Eshia ye meeting. Prekope me call off. Me urufi bio. Manage team no na mo banahin specialist hospital. Wow, emfidie ni machine sa hodo na mu say yes hospital e bi di de biachi.
Me hu say mayo kakra nanka mensa contract bi eneya agi bibia na problem e bai di kan buti mama akwahwe kura da masamba ka me ni beje ho pa.
Oh, men worry. The person will treatment no. And so your facility wa ha we born now new business partners na meeting.
And hospital kwa na mwe. Awon na ye zuma me mo ka say.
Opeto ko hospital ya me kanfo banahin specialist hospital ma. Ko they are ready to help you. Baba.
This is not your typical tea. The Fumigio Herbal Tea by Glucose Care International is a nutritious drink and a natural blood glucose reducer. Gymnema plant, the active ingredient in the Fumigio Herbal Tea, suppresses the absorption of carbohydrate ingested from your diet. The green tea content in the Fumigio Herbal Tea promotes rejuvenation of dead cells, detoxification of your system, stimulates the pancreas to release insulin, and improves metabolism. Drinking one sachet of Fumigio Herbal Tea after meals prevents the rise in blood sugar levels, suppresses appetite, and improves bowel movement. Drinking Fumigio Herbal Tea regularly after meals can also prevent type 2 diabetes. We encourage you to drink Fumigio Herbal Tea 3 times in a day, coupled with mild exercises to maximize its benefits. Fumigio Herbal Tea has been approved by the FDA. Toxicity test conducted by SGS, so it is safe and non-toxic. A product of Singapore. With Fumigio Herbal Tea, your peace of mind is guaranteed. Call our shop now on 0245 810 623 and set your path to good health.
All right, thank you for joining us on Era One tonight. We have looked at the economic and political, spiritual lessons that we can glean from Saul's leadership. And on this note, I just want to say congratulations to the ABSU people, St. Augustine's College past students. We had our gala in Maryland this past weekend. It was awesome. Congrats to the leaders and kudos to them for the good job done, the executive. And we had our NEC chair or president all the way from Ghana, Dr. Antonio Say joined us, and we had Dr. Pauko Sindium also came around, and we had Her Excellency, the ambassador to the United States, Mrs. I think Ibrahim, she also was there. And we had a soccer tournament. Yours truly was there. We whipped Adisco by 5 goals to nothing. Actually, it was 6, but the referee disallowed one. He didn't want us to spell Adisco. We wanted to give them 6 and spell Adisco for them, but luckily they were rescued. So we gave them 5 goals. So to all the ABSU players, RNN, and all the players, you know, all the scorers and all the people that made the soccer great. Coca, the captain, and our coach was our ABSU Oki, and all the rest of the players. Congratulations. And so we'll meet again next year. Until then, I'm sure I'm going to be having a program on that soon. So keep out and watch out for our program very soon. Thank you very much and have a very good evening. Bye-bye.